lost. That hurt some feelings. Just a little bit. Not a prolonged, sustained frustration. Just a temporary, I need a beer after that loss. That's not what you do. You know they're going to you got to make them change directions. Woo, that'll hurt your feelings.
That's the old cliche, stop the ball. And it capped, unfortunately, what was a really entertaining final 12 minutes or so of that game. A lot of good offensive basketball. You might say bad defense, but you know what? In a year where entertaining offensive basketball
has been hard to find,
slim, that was a good second half.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's and there's some little subtle things there that you can do to kind of help your guys out that didn't get done either that frustrate me a little bit. But so be it. Good to be with you. Thanks for being with us. I'm Jeff. That is Tom. Director Matthew in the house as well. You can bet he's a happy man. His Eagles are on the way to the Super Bowl. Had a rather easy time of it once we were down to children playing quarterback and people running around like running reverses on every play.
I hope he took an Uber here. I would imagine the party raged into the night for Director Matt.
Oh, my goodness gracious. And then my hero, Joe Burrow, came up just short. Damn it, man.
He tried. That 3rd and 16.
Yeah, it's nice. You made me laugh, by the way. That was funny. I didn't see it till later on, but that cracked me up. Yeah.
It was harrowing. I was rooting for I found myself, look, I've always enjoyed the talents of Joe Burrow, just not on your level.
Yeah.
So I'd stay away from it. But independently in my own domicile, I do root for Joe. I got no problem, less than zero problem. Patrick Mahomes, love watching him too.
He's a great player.
By the second half of that game, as some of the calls go against them, you get a do-over because Ron Torbert winds the clock when he shouldn't have. Like, these things start stacking together. I'm saying, all right, Joe, you do it. You do it. Do the damn thing, Joe. And unfortunately, he didn't.
You know what's an underrated aspect of that game that gets overlooked? And I'm not...
The punter being awful?
No.
Oh.
2nd and 1, they threw 2 bombs in the penultimate series. What are we doing? What are we doing here? I mean, I get it. You've got Joe Burrow. Get your first down. Get your first down. It's sort of an underrated, it'll go overlooked. I'll talk about that in a bit, but it was strange to me. I don't usually get upset with play calling, especially because Cincinnati's had a very good offense for some time now. Well, since Joe Burrow arrived. But honestly, it was weird on 2nd and 1. Bombs away. I get the bombs away on 2nd down, or if you want to reverse it, however you want to do it. You got to get your first down, though.
Well, I think it's kind of like when a 3-point shooter like a J.R. Smith, and Joe Burrow's far better at his sport than J.R. Smith was at his. But when you throw a prayer up on 4th and forever and Chase comes down with it, that might be the wrong kind of reinforcement where you're thinking, I could just do this whenever I want.
Well, when you have Chase, you can and should take chances. I don't necessarily have a problem with that, especially if you're going to continue to place the ball perfectly on that back shoulder where he can turn and make catches like that.
There were some others
what
too.
Joe does.
The one to Hurst, which was really ill-advised. That's well covered, but it was a perfect ball in the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
And Romo and Nance couldn't stop talking about that particular one. I'm like, really? There have been 15 better throws in this game between the two quarterbacks.
So it is. We are all set up as the 1 seeds are playing. And, at the end of the day, that's not shocking. I thought that I, as a football fan, because I don't root for the Eagles and I don't root for the 49ers and I don't root for the Chiefs, and I do like Joe Burrow, but I'm not a Cincinnati fan. So all I would say is that I wanted to see really compelling games. We got one in the second game. That first one was over early in the second quarter. Once the injury happened and you saw Josh Johnson come out there, I was like, oh, he's still in the league?
That's the same Josh Johnson?
He's still in the league?
Look, man.
I ended up looking this up. Here's a trivia question for you. He's been in the league for 15 years, so it's impressive.
I was in college, yeah.
All right. How much money do you think he's made in his career? So he's
been on 13 teams. He's played 15 different seasons, I think. Was that right?
So 15 seasons off and on.
I don't know. $10.5 million.
That's a great guess. I grossly overestimated what it would mean because I didn't realize that like 8 of the 15 years he was on a practice squad.
Yeah, you get 100 grand.
You get next to nothing. Yeah, he's made $8 million.
Okay.
So hey, listen, he's carved out a nice life. If he saved some money, then he's fine.
Plus the pension, the veteran.
Yeah, he's vetted, so he's good to go. But I did think about it. I'm like, man, 15 years in the league, he's got to make $50 million. And then I didn't think about, over half of them he was on a practice squad. Anyhow, when he had to come out there, I was like, this game is over. The dumbest thing, and it gets overlooked because it worked out. And it's hard to criticize a team that wins going away. What are we doing running around with Jalen Hurts up? San Francisco cannot score. The game is over in the second quarter. They cannot score. Yeah. Why are we running our quarterback into the second half? What are we doing here?
It's the turnover score before halftime.
Yeah,
That's when it's over.
It's over.
They were dilly-dallying a little bit. Philly, the quarterback goes down. How is this 7-7? You could feel that energy. Like, well, how is this still 7-7? You telling me this is a race to 13 or 16? Because if it is, anybody can win this game. But then when they get to 21, it's just that's an uncatchable number, especially when that next kickoff return.
Right.
I was like, oh, if he houses this, we might actually have something.
Yeah.
I went and took a great nap beginning at halftime.
You were smart because you knew you wanted to see the night game. Yeah.
Indeed.
I had to fight to stay up. And luckily, the game was so compelling. It was easy.
That second half, it went to a better level.
It was easy to do.
The AFC game. That second half was awesome.
Fantastic. Tonight at 7 o'clock, the ACC releases the schedule on the ACC network. And I'll have an opportunity to join Corey and Ira on Warchant TV. We will do a little watch along, if you will, with that. And should be fun. I will tell you this. Ordinarily, and it may happen during today's show. We'll see if it's possible. But ordinarily, we're able to get an early look at the schedule. That in past seasons, in past years, as the schedule was set to come out, you could tap into sources, and if you worked hard enough early on, you could find those early releases. But I think, given that they've now made this, and this is smart because the ACC network hasn't done a lot of smart things. So when they do something that you're supposed to do, I'll give them credit. They have now guarded this thing like it's gold because they have a show centered around the schedule release that they're trying to get you to watch. And if you can keep that thing from leaking, then that show becomes watchable and important and something you want to see. And so this time around, the 5 or 6 folks that I usually knock, hey, got that schedule? Got a little, man, there's a couple of dubious supposed early glimpses at the schedule, but nothing that can be confirmed like it can in years past. So I give the ACC credit. They've put that schedule release on lockdown for the most part, and it's hard to find.
I think they've threatened people's lives, proverbially speaking.
It's smart, though. I mean, you have got to. I would think if you're running that network and you've had all of these missteps, you've made all of these terrible mistakes in the past that make the network unwatchable, that this is something, I mean, it's right out of the NFL. This is what the NFL does. I mean, they make every month of the year an NFL-centric information gathering center where you have to, what's going on here? Oh, minicamp. Oh, this and that, the schedule. So you would have to tell people, listen, I don't care. Not your best friend, not your father, not your mother, not anybody. We can't let this get out. We have a show at 7 o'clock. It may be one of the few watched programs we have. Please, let's not let this thing slip out there into the interwebs.
It more than quadruples our non-live sports ratings for the entirety of the second quarter of the year. This is it. This is all we've got. And it is interesting because although we know the non-conference portion of Florida State's schedule,
we know the whole schedule. We just don't know the dates.
We know the opponents.
Right.
Yeah, but there are a lot of things to sort out here in terms of what does the ACC want to prioritize?
Correct.
Because you could do it one way or the other. You could say Florida State and Clemson need to play early so that you can build a narrative that they're going back towards each other in a championship game. You could play it later in the year when they're both, in theory, if it's your best kind of a year for the ACC, top 10 teams. And then you get 2 matchups in November to capitalize on. You could go either way with that. And then FSU has a lot of weird traveling to do. We got to go to Pitt this year. First time in 10 years since you've been there.
I was there with my pops on the 50. Excited to watch Jameis and see what he was. Only to find out he was that kind of kid.
And we have the bookends to the schedule with LSU, Southern Miss, Florida, and then Florida and the other one we play.
Yeah, North Alabama.
Yeah,
again, I am mostly excited about the order only because, again, football is a war of attrition. We know this. Football is oftentimes about when you play people and how quickly do you play or how many difficult games, that is to say teams with close to equal talent or are capable. How many games of those do you play back-to-back? Do you have back-to-back tough road games? These kinds of things. And so, we always have the look-ahead games. We get into that stuff. And I think it's usually easier when we do W's and L's. You know, you and I will circle, oh, this is a pitfall. This is a look ahead game. This is a trap game. So that's why you want to look at times and the order of things. You already know who you're going to play. And in a vacuum, it's easy to say what you think is going to happen.
Well, and this year for travel, because the conference footprint is all the way from the bottom of the United States all the way to the Canadian border, pretty much. You got to go to Boston and you got to go to Pitt. So those two Northeastern trips, you'd prefer those not be around rivalry games. And by that, I mean preceding one of your rivalry games between Clemson or Miami.
In particular, the Pitt game, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, Boston College, I don't care when.
That would be, yes, if you're doing order of operations in terms of difficulty, as we sit here today on the conference slate, it's Clemson far and away in their own tier. And then after that, it's probably Pitt on the road and then Miami at home in terms of danger of losing. I know you had Duke on that list.
Well, no, you and I had but we had a conversation about, can you name a game that nobody would circle to suggest that it is a potential upset or a shocker? And I said, well, if you want to go way out on a limb, you would say what Elko did at Duke in year one portends of a program that is going to be a thorn in the side of many. Certainly Miami yearly, but we've never lost to Duke, unlike Miami, who has several times.
It's a rivalry. Good one.
Yeah. But what I would suggest is that when you have a guy that in year one leads his team to a top 35 defense in the country, statistically, and top 5 in the ACC, I think they're only going to get better. He'll be in year 2. So that could be a team that if you didn't play well and you weren't focused and you turned it over a couple of times, you could be in for a game in the fourth quarter, and you would not predict that in the preseason. So that's how they came up in my mind. I am curious to see when we play them.
Well, yeah, that game that follows Clemson would be the big one, right? In terms of is that Duke here? Is that Pitt on the road? Like, would you have to play Clemson on the road followed by Pitt on the road? These are the things that we're going to be mining for
tonight. Yeah,
that can affect maybe by a half win your projections.
If you're good, if you're really good, you don't worry too much about the order of games. You just pay attention to them to make travel plans. But we all know how football works.
And the bye week.
And the bye week, indeed. When is it? Is it early? Is it late? Get it right in the middle of the season the way we'd prefer. All fun things, all fun topics. By the way, so you and I were asked to comment. We did a video that we used for today's show. It's the only thing. We did it right before the show started. The rest of the show is live today. But we did a tape segment about an hour ago. And we were answering a question that was in the chat. And I thought it was applicable to today, and so did you. And so, nonetheless, we talked about it. And I think we should use it here in a second just to further the topic, which is, you know, if you're a championship caliber team, if you're an elite team, you handle the schedule relatively, worry-free. There's 2 to 3 games that you would circle that you'd say, in this conference, sorry-ass conference, where you would say, come on, I mean, short of this game or that game on the road, I'm not all that worried. But then we were talking about that per the chat. Like, where is FSU's depth at? Yeah, they got better players and more of them than they had 2 years ago or a year ago. But then there's a whole nother level of championship pedigree where we talk about a 5-star gets hurt and a 5-star replaces them like they do at Georgia, like we used to do when we were championship caliber. And where is Florida State relative to that level of depth? They're better, they're deeper, but are they championship deep? And I think the answer is no, but to what degree? We discussed it. You'll hear it next. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Choose Hearth & Patio for custom fireplaces, maintenance, outdoor grills, kitchens, fire pits, lighting, and so much more. Check out all of Hearth & Patio's options online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com. Hearth & Patio, they keep the home fires burning.
Every day, Sellers makes life a little better for homeowners, helping them find the best design ideas for their homes with the best quality tile, carpet, and hardwood flooring. Even mosaics, ceramic, and vinyl solutions are at their fingertips in their remarkable showroom. Maybe it's time for you to get the Sellers advantage for your home or office. Find them on Capitol Circle Northeast, just north of Mahan Drive, or online at sellerstile.com. For style, quality, and design, get the Sellers advantage. In Tallahassee, call 656-8453.
Clean, renewable energy means fresher air, healthier residents, new green jobs, and a stronger, more resilient community. How we get there is up to you. Share your input today to help shape the Tallahassee of tomorrow. Take the Clean Energy Survey at talgov.com.
Barry knows cool. He's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows cool. You can put him to the test.
This is Tyler from Bear No Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere.
Save big time in the new year and get $1,200 off select new units.
Online at BearNoAC.com.
Keeping you comfortable is what Barry does best.
Florida license CAC 1816-186.
When I get home from work, I'm ready to relax. So I call Swain Pools and Spas and put my pool in the back. I call Swain Pools and Spas. Now I'm soaking up the fun when I want to.
Truckloads of new and used Caldera and Hot Spring Spas are available now at Swain Pools and Spas. Don't wait. Get to Swain Pools and browse the best inventory to find the spa of your dreams. These won't last long, so come see us today. Just look for the huge sign on Tharp Street or call 386-7113 for Swain Pools and Spas.
I know what you're thinking right now. Where can I find a place to get my car fixed and also check out some awesome new hot tubs and spas while I wait? Well, you're in luck. Because when you bring your car or truck in to get serviced at Tallahassee Car Care, it's under the same roof as Swain Pools and Spas for tires, brakes, bowders, tune-ups, oil changes, and all the service you need to get back on the road. Choose the certified technicians at Tallahassee Car Care. Drop by our shop on Tharp Street or visit online at TallahasseeCarCare.com.
We understand how important it is to have transportation you can rely on. So no matter what the road ahead brings, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for over 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise.
I'm Andy Cohen with Florida Farm Bureau Insurance. Please call me at 850-671-FARM.
Gee, honey, I'm not gonna lie. Our front yard is looking sad. Don't you think it's time for some TLJ?
I'm pretty sure you mean TLC, and I don't have time for all that work.
No, I'm talking about some TLJ, like in the radio commercials. Give your yard some TLJ from the Lawn Johns.
For all your lawn care and landscaping needs, give your yard the TLC it deserves with some TLJ. Call the Lawn Johns today for a free quote at 322-2567 or visit thelawnjohns.com.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Tom and I were talking during the break. There was something that came up last week in the chat, and we never readdressed it. And I thought it was interesting. It's fun to have these conversations. It has to do with championship level depth. And I'll preface it, Tom, before we get started here with this, because we did a video, me and Corey and Gene did a video on warchant.com last week. And there was a conversation surrounding that amongst the listeners and the people on the board about whether or not Florida State could be considered a playoff contender. And I thought, well, if we're just considering playoff contenders, last year was a good year for college football because I think at any one time there might have been 8 or 9 teams that were certainly playoff contenders. And the fact that TCU played for a national championship, I think is really good for college football. But I also think it broadens the scope of who we think is a playoff contender. So TCU was sub 500 the year before. They have a new coaching staff, and they played for the national title. Now, obviously, they came up woefully short against a team like Georgia, but they did play for the championship. So they came out of left field, if you will, to be a playoff contender. But if they're a playoff contender, based on their depth or lack thereof, an average star rating of player, transfer portal contributions, junior and senior level participation in snaps, If you look at what they were, well, then Florida State is every bit a playoff contender. I mean, it's not close. And what that does is it welcomes in maybe 8 or 9 more teams that you would say, if we were having this conversation at for another team site, we would say, oh, yeah, we're a playoff contender. And you might roll your eyes and be like, really? But I could tell you, Tennessee is a playoff contender based on this. LSU is a playoff contender based on this. Florida State's a playoff contender. TCU's a playoff contender. Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama. We can go on here. You're going to end up with 15 playoff contenders, which is a good thing for competitive balance in college football. But it is a different discussion, and TCU found this out, as to whether or not you have competitive depth, national championship caliber competitive depth. And that's kind of, and I'm paraphrasing, that's kind of what came up on the chat. And this is where I typically push back on some of the other guys, whether it's me and Ira talking, me and Corey talking. I push back a little bit when we start talking about, is Florida State a national championship contender? Because I think that they would need some things to happen. Because invariably, if you do run into the juggernaut that is Georgia, with their competitive depth, national championship depth, what you find is exactly what was spelled out before the TCU-Georgia game. And that is that stockpiling elite recruiting classes, whether they through the transfer portal, which is the modern way of viewing it, or they through traditional recruiting, which is the high school ranks and grabbing as many 5 stars as you can, or 4 and 5 stars as you can. The bottom line is usually there has been a level of compiling where you have 3, 4, 5, 6 years worth of elite recruiting classes, because that is how you survive an injury to your starting left tackle. That is how you survive an injury to the number 1 receiver in the country. That is how you survive a lack of linebacker depth and having to go to your second or third guy at linebacker or in the trenches. And so while I think Florida State is every bit a playoff contender, could maybe even reach the national championship game, I think the more compelling question is, how close is Florida State to having championship caliber depth? Tom, by the way, before you respond, just so you know, as we were talking about this, if you look at last year before the national championship game, there was an article that I read. I don't remember if it was a USA Today article or wherever it was, but they were comparing the 2 rosters, and they were talking about who's got more blue chippers. Well, I mean, everybody knows who's got more blue chippers. Yeah. But what they ended up talking about was TCU relied heavily on player development and for players to outperform their prospect pedigree, for lack of a better term. Whereas Georgia obviously could fall back, and if you want to use compilation rankings, you want to use rivals rankings, you want to use on threes rankings. The bottom line was Georgia had 15 players who were 5-star recruits on the roster. They had, Jalen Carter and 53, Tom, 4-star recruits on the roster. So you had 15 5-stars and 53 4-stars compiled in on this. It's insane. It's an abundance of riches. Florida State does not have an abundance of riches. They've moved into a place where they can win the conference, where they can beat anybody on any given day, where their starting 22 is good enough to compete at a high level, maybe even make it really interesting in a game against Georgia in a one-off on a neutral site. Yes, they have that. Championship level depth where they can withstand frontline injuries to key starters, they do not have that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it always depends on the position group. And, even that 2013 title team here in Tallahassee, we'll put quarterback aside. Anybody who loses their starting quarterback is
in trouble.
Is in real trouble. Like, you just don't have to. That Ohio State team that won the first national championship in the playoff is the exception, not the rule. They went through 2 guys. Cardell Jones is the one that puts them over the top and finishes the job. But in 2013, let's take that Seminoles group. If Jameis goes down, the chances of you winning the national title are greatly diminished. It's a really good football team. But the other places that they did not have championship level depth, in my opinion, but even back then, the offensive line, who was their 7th best offensive lineman?
Yeah, they stayed healthy. They stayed healthy there. You're right.
A problematic player. Linebacker, probably in retrospect as well, did not have championship level depth for the 2013 Seminoles. You might have had another guy, but if like Telvin went down, holy cow, you're in big trouble. This group, this upcoming year, has championship level depth in more places than the program has in a long, long time. In a way, I'd almost argue they have more depth on the offensive line this upcoming season than they did in 2013, which is really strange. Do they have frontline talent the way that 2013 team did? Probably not, but they've got 7 options to 10 options, depending upon how these two camps go in the offensive line. I think they've got the depth necessary at wide receiver now, which is amazing to say given where they were 2 years ago. I think we all agree at running back, they have the depth. That's quite good. But on defense is where you have the issues. Defensive end, they do not have championship quality depth. Linebacker, certainly not. Safety, probably not, unless they go get another transfer. Corner, they don't. So the defense is the problematic side where your frontline guys can get you through and get you to good places. But if you suffer 3 or 4 key injuries on the defensive side of the ball, you got problems. Only defensive tackle, to me, is a place where you're approaching championship level depth because you bring back Fabian Lovett and you have Fisk and now you have Darrell Jackson and you got Farmer and some of those younger guys. You've got, and Malcolm Ray's still in the rotation as well. So you've got a lot of solutions there, but they don't have it top to bottom. Where that championship team for us, which is now 10 years ago, and that's crazy to say, had 1 or 2 position groups that are problematic. This particular team has probably 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Problematic.
And I want to make an argument too that, and this is another area where it's evidenced that they're still climbing, and that's fine. That's fine. They just had a winning season for the first time in 5 years. I mean, it's okay that you're not there yet, but when you talk about, and it's a nuanced discussion because when you talk about depth, do you have Power 5 caliber plus players on the 2 deep? In some spots, yes, like you just mentioned, at wide receiver and at defensive line and at running back. Yeah, they do. Are those elite players, though? No. Like Georgia had the luxury of replacing one elite top 2 round pick in the NFL with another one after that one got hurt. Florida State is not there yet. Florida State's got a plus player, we think, in Fisk, but we don't know really what he is at the Power 5 level yet. He's not played at the Power 5 level yet. So is he a good player? We think so. Was he an elite transfer portal get? Yes. Was he a key depth piece? Absolutely. Does he make Florida State better? We both think likely so. We'll have to see him come spring, and it's exciting to come see, get to watch these new guys. Is he an elite player? Is he a 5-star dominant player? Well, I mean, probably not. Not if he ended up at Western Michigan. So that's where it's different. Like when you watch Ohio State and Georgia and teams like that, a lot of times they'll lose a key player, and it's devastating to lose a game changer.
Yeah.
But the guy they turn to replace him is a 5-star kid that was just waiting his turn. And that's what the Florida State teams of the 90s did. They were ridiculous. I mean, it loaded for bear. It was unfair. It was unfair. I look back now and realize that if you were a fan of another team in this conference, certainly, you hated FSU because FSU would lose their starting running back or their starting right tackle or their starting linebacker. And then, who are they replacing him with? I don't know. A guy who's going to get drafted in the first round. That's championship caliber depth. That's a whole different discussion. Now, I'm always careful about how I present that because I don't want to take away from the fact that Florida State got better in the offseason, Florida State got deeper in the offseason, and Florida State's prepared to make another run, this time at a conference championship. And by definition, if you win this conference and you have a gaudy record with the schedule that has LSU on it and Florida on it, you're likely to be in the college football playoff. Just doesn't mean that you're equipped to win it all because you have the quality of depth necessary if a few guys get hurt in a war of attrition that football is.
Yeah, I think the problem with comparing the 90s to now is just the way the game is played. And Florida State, in terms of what it favors, and now offense is favored in such a way compared to the 90s, it's crazy. Like, what was the race to in those days? I know Florida State hit like 60 or 70 on the regular,
right. Yeah.
But what was the race to? 24, for most teams. Now it's 35. So at least Florida State is in a position where if you do enough defensively, you're going to win most of your games.
Correct.
A lot of your games. And that's what I'm judging this in terms of the path to the playoff and then championship caliber depth. So on defense, if Fabian goes down this year, you feel better about your circumstances unless you have multiple injuries to the defensive interior. But you feel better about your chances to hold up against the run. Where they were awful against the run when he didn't play and he wasn't healthy, I don't think they're going to be awful this year. Obviously, at defensive end, they still need to do some work. Bringing in the Edmond kid was good, and Verse returning was the whole key to the puzzle there. They need more work at linebacker because if Deloach or Bethune goes down, you've got the same problem you had last year. Unless Blake Nicholson is truly that much of a freak as a true freshman, you've got big problems there. Safety, still need help. Even with Akeem Dent coming back, if he or Shaheem Brown goes down, who the hell's the answer? I don't know. Do you? Nobody does. And corner, you need more development there. Hopefully Surtain can fill in those gaps. But my point is, the whole goal this year for me on defense is if you can hold teams somewhere between 24 to 27 points a game on average when you're playing the better teams, you're going to win those football games. So, and that even would account for a championship level opponent. I think this offense is going to be opponent agnostic when it comes to the production that they can put up. And it's a little bit different than in those days, because in those days it was 3 yards in a cloud of dust a lot more than it is today, which is spread and go.
Well, that's true. When we go through the roster, though, I think you said something that's very true. Florida State is deep enough and talented enough and really, really good on offense, especially with the quarterback that makes it really go. And now they've added these 2 tight ends, and finally Florida State's going to have a couple of guys that play a key position in Mike Norvell's offense. So they probably expand their ability to be dynamic, obviously, this offseason. I still would argue, though, that the quality of the starters are not up to par with the best teams in the country. They're just not. They are at some positions. Jordan Travis could play anywhere and start anywhere. He could start at Georgia. That's how good Jordan Travis is now after this past year. Jordan Travis could conceivably be a starter at one of those places. And there are a few other guys. I feel like Trey Benson has merged into a guy now that could start anywhere. You know, if he's going to be that guy that we saw in the second half of the season with that size and that speed and that confidence, yeah, he could start anywhere. There aren't a lot of guys I say that about. Verse could. Fabian could start a lot of places, but Fabian Lovett's not elite. Fabian Lovett's a good defensive tackle. He's not an elite defensive tackle. So it's interesting. You really get into these nuanced discussions. It's weird, too, because it puts you in a position of having to denigrate guys that are really good football players, and we're just getting into the fine lines.
Well, this is the exercise that we wanted, though. This is the one that we should always be having at Florida State. We weren't allowed to have it because we were just trying to get up on our 2 feet and walk one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
I like having this conversation. My thing is where I agree with you. If you just look at NFL combine value or coming out of high school value, there is no doubt that Florida State still has a tier to climb up. But in this day and age of the way the game is played and the way offense is valued, it's can you find a way to get to the mid-30s? Because if you can, you're pretty much in every single game. Yeah. And that it would include even a championship setting. With this offense having so many options, if I'm a defensive coordinator who approaches Florida State and says, how do I stop them? What do I need to take away? I'm going to take away X. Well, Florida State now has Y and Z available to them in any game. So you want to take away Jordan's ability to run? He'll throw over your head. You want to take away the deep shot down the field to Johnny Wilson, double him, and play everything underneath? We could do that too, especially now with the tight ends we have. You want to stop the run? Good luck. We'll roll Jordan out. We're going to give him some perimeter RPOs with the passing game. We've got the receivers to go win those battles. It's just, it gets a lot of fun. It's almost like you're taking the inside track and you're cheating around some talent disparity.
Yeah.
But you can do it in this day and age.
Yeah.
And the thing is, could Florida State, the best thing I can argue for Florida State in terms of depth and championship depth this year is last year's injuries in the offensive line. I didn't think that they could suffer 2 injuries to their top 7. They did. They won 9 bordering on 10 games. Is that a different animal than Georgia? Yes, of course it is. But they're getting better at all these positions year over year. So I think they can absorb 3 or 4 key injuries to people not named Jordan Travis and still be in the mix, which is so much better than they were a year or 2 ago.
Yeah, we're equipped to have this conversation on a much sturdier platform than we did a year ago. There's no doubt that Florida State is in a conversation where you have to be more nuanced in the way that you discuss what they're capable of after suffering a few injuries. Whereas in the past, you could just say summarily dismissed.
Yeah.
Florida State is done with the conversation if they lose this, and this guy. That's not true anymore. They got enough guys that they could keep winning games and they could win the ACC with a few injuries. It's fun. It's more fun to have the conversation about whether it knocks them out of championship contention as opposed to going 500. There's no doubt this is a much better conversation to have. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
A child has died and 3 others were taken to Tallahassee Memorial Hospital for treatment after a car ran off a road and hit a tree in Jackson County. Troopers report a driver and 3 passengers were in a car traveling west on U.S. Highway 90 in Jackson County near Hunter Lane. For unknown reasons, the car swerved off the road, through a ditch, and then crashed into a large tree. The 22-year-old female driver and 2 of the passengers, a 13-year-old boy and a 4-year-old girl, were taken to TMH. The 4th passenger, a 7-year-old, was pronounced deceased at the scene despite life-saving efforts performed by bystanders. The driver and passengers were all wearing their seatbelts or child restraints, and the next of kin has been notified. The city of Thomasville announced on Friday contractors will begin resurfacing several streets throughout the city beginning today. Work is expected to take up to 60 days, weather permitting. Temporary lane closures will take place while work is underway, but roadways will remain open to local traffic. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MclemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Michael Carroll with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. For this afternoon, we'll have partly to mostly cloudy skies, along with a chance for showers and storms, highs working up into the upper 70s. And for tonight, a lingering slight chance for a shower. Could have some areas of fog developing as well, dropping to 62. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 77.
Let's take a minute to imagine all the things you can accomplish with help from Southeast Portable Buildings. Are you a hoarder? Hoard some more. Get a storage shed. Mother-in-law moving in with you? Put her in a shed out back. I'm kidding. Still working on that engine that you're going to finish from last summer? Move it out to a new workspace with Southeast Portable Buildings. From she sheds and man caves to repair shops and trophy rooms, the possibilities are only limited to your imagination. Visit Southeast Portable Buildings today.
My man Eddie.
Jeff, what's happening, dude?
Bears eating people all over the place. I read another article today. It's the 3rd one in the last month of somebody getting mauled to death by a bear.
Man, bears have their own space. You got to let them have that.
You do. You got to stay clear of bears, is what you're saying.
Yes.
I got a question for you. Here you go. If you had to be mauled to death, eaten alive by any animal in the world, which would you choose to eat you alive?
Ooh, I think maybe I'd want, I don't know, longevity time, a mouse.
Just a slow burn.
Slow burn.
This thing just finished the pinky. It's been a month.
I could go to work. I could still do my thing. I could probably live 30 years.
I thought you were going to say great white because it'd be quick, or a grizzly. We went with mouse.
Yeah, mouse.
Okay. Mouse it is. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Hey, Matt.
Yes, Greg.
You know all the different ways that you can listen to Real Talk 93.3?
There are several.
So we've got realtalk93.com. You can go back and listen to all of our shows in the podcast section.
That's right. You can also listen on our app as well.
Search Real Talk 93.3 and look for the red microphone and download our app. Never go anywhere without us.
And of course, you can always listen right on the radio.
Well, they are listening.
Are they?
If they're hearing this commercial, then they're listening.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3. The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Campaign, and we had a long time between this time and that one, but admittedly, when expectations get to where you start to talk of very least a conference championship, then it kind of does beg you to endeavor to vet further. But by the way, this week there is an opportunity to talk to the newcomers for Florida State, and that was released by Florida State's athletic department earlier this week. So, or earlier today, I should say. And Patrick Surtain on Wednesday is available to the press. The remaining early enrollee freshmen as well will be available to the press this week. So an opportunity to talk not only to Coach Surtain, who I'm really excited to talk about, Brock Glenn, the incoming quarterback, excited to see what he's about, offensive lineman Lucas Simmons, who has a chance to be very special in his time at Florida State. Maybe sooner rather than later, they'll work him into 4 games this year.
He's already got the frame.
Yeah, he does. And so he'll be here as well. And then Hakeem Williams will also be talked to, and he's not going to be afraid to have that conversation with the press. And that'll take place Wednesday as well. So all of these, you'll hear from all these gentlemen, you'll hear from this week on Wednesday. Sometime around lunch, just after lunchtime, all those interviews will be completed. So there you go.
So a way too early jersey number for you, but 79 is Lucas Simmons. Once we get to spring camp, he's already listed because he's checked in and gone through the process.
Yes, he has.
6'8", 300 plus pounds.
So let's
already.
Yeah, and let's just say you thought, oh well, they're getting a little carried away. Okay, 6'7", 305 pounds, 310 pounds. Yeah, he's a monster with footwork.
I think they're keeping it pretty straight down the line though, because one example was when Kyle Morlock visited before he had committed to Florida State, and he was listed at 6'8". I remember doing a show with Michael Langston at that time. He says he's not 6'8", but he's all of 6'5" or 6'6". He's a tall guy. And Kyle Morlock is listed at 6'6" on the spring Florida State roster. So I found that interesting. They weren't going to exaggerate for one of our new tight ends. Simmons was already, I think, 6'7" on the recruiting trail. So this would hold. 6'8", 307 is the official listing. Talk about better clay. That is what I'm talking about.
Every time Florida State has visitors, and they had visitors over the weekend yet again, you are reminded of the better clay discussion and what they're about to be working with. Now, not all of the kids that have visited here recently are kids that are going to say yes to Florida State, but the caliber of player that is interested in Florida State has upgraded immediately. And then I think from there, you get into discussions about the enthusiasm around the program, the energy around the program, the enthusiasm amongst the recruits. There seems to be a recurring theme here. It's pretty funny to me. We talk about the things that coaches allow for in order to acquiesce to recruits. Things like uniform changes, and let's do this, and let's wear this, and let's wear that, and non-traditional. You know, it's popular with the kids. The kids really like it, so therefore you should do it. You know, let's just be honest. You know, it's popular with the kids, winning football games. That's all it is. That's all it is. Yeah, personalities matter, meshing, relationships matter, but you have to start by winning football games. That's it. You can wear 755 different uniforms. It doesn't make a damn bit of difference if you're 5-7. And nobody's like, well, you know, they do change up the uniforms quite a bit. No, they don't care. They don't care. Every one of these kids at varying points when interviewed about their visits have mentioned that Florida State went 10-3. It comes up that Florida State won 10 games. Yeah, because they don't want to play for a team that sucks. And all the uniform changes in the world aren't going to make a difference. It's just about whether or not you're winning. All of recruiting. Once you're winning, you have to compete against the other teams that are winning. And yes, those relationships matter in a situation where we're on the same plane. I'm winning, you're winning, we're all winning. So what's the difference? Okay, well, playing time might be whether I like this coach, my position coach or not. This region of the country is easy for my parents to get to. Whatever it is. But it all starts with getting eye level with the programs you seek to compete against. And so I don't even care. Like, you'll watch people argue about all of these particular like facets of recruiting, and you're like, no, man. It's like when people argue about politics, and for years and years and years back in the day, you'd always be like, no, man, it's the economy. That's what people would say, right? It's just the economy. Well, in recruiting, it's just the winning. Are you or aren't you? If the answer is you're not going to get good players to say yes. You'll get the outlier. You'll get a legacy. You'll get the occasional kid who decides, I really believe where they're headed is the right direction for me, and I can be developed better there, whatever. But to sustain excellence in recruiting, you have to have excellent folks interested in playing for you.
Well, and that's why this year is more than critical, you know, you're talking about the health of what we can pitch on the recruiting trail for the next 2 or 3 years. Not only do you have a ton of veterans coming back and quite a few players who could have easily made the decision to go, stick around. I know NIL helps with that. But the schedule is much easier this year. I know you'll see some surprises develop as the year goes along. That always happens. And then there'll be some teams that you expect to be good that aren't quite as good. But there are years when you've got all your ducks in a row, and then you've got some kind of crazy-ass schedule like Notre Dame does. You know, every once in a while, you look at their schedule, you go, my God, where's the break?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this year, our home slate, just look at the home games in Tallahassee. You've got Miami, and you've got nothing else that's compelling in terms of just who's coming to town. Duke, Virginia
I just don't know how
Tech,
many times I got to tell you how good Duke's going to be next year.
Duke, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, Southern Miss, and North Alabama. Those are the other teams that are going to be playing in Tallahassee. Just a small little indicator of this is the year to get it done. This is the year to make sure that kids keep coming to campus and saying they've had back-to-back 10-plus win seasons. They won the ACC. You got to get it done this year because you're purging so many good players this offseason. You don't know what that's going to line up like next year. This one, schedule lines up with veteran presence on the roster.
They're going to win a lot of games, Tom, because of that fact. I mean, the schedule is not good. And, you know, the only thing you can sell right now, if you're trying to sell that home schedule, is, hey, come watch a real good team, meaning ours, not the opponent. You know, like you said, Clemson's on the road. You know, Florida's on the road. You get Miami here, and hopefully you stomp that ass yet again.
Look, we're not as good as we were in the 90s. Nobody's saying that much, and we talked about that a little bit last segment too. But this feels like a 90s schedule in that you've got a Class A of a couple of games, maybe a couple of middling ones, and then the rest you should win. Like, it feels like there are 7 or 8 absolutely should win games on the schedule, no matter the sequencing.
I mentioned already the fact that, well, the order of the schedule tonight, we figure it out in terms of when we play those teams. It does matter. We will do W's and L's. We're being asked about it. W's and L's will happen this week. It's going to happen. It's going to happen on Wednesday. So, you know, I'm sure there'll be maybe not an official W's and L's per se for Seminole headlines. Being the boys will talk about the schedule and give opinions, but you and I, as the originators, will do W's and L's.
We're getting asked to do, and I'm kind of not an originator. I just always got to put that out there. I believe it was you and Matt Millar that first created
the original. Yeah.
You're the OGs of the OGs. But we're getting asked to do a dry run with other teams. This is how you know people want W's and L's.
I like dry. Listen, I've done dry runs with other teams, W's and L's before too. I especially do it in cases in which we're allowed to revel in their misfortune. If you enter into a Clemson or a Florida or a Miami W's and L's and it's rooted in the Schadenfreude to follow, that is fun. You're right. Florida's going to be an inch. Florida's got to get a quarterback.
Yeah. That's okay. They got a kid from Wisconsin. It'll be all right.
He's terrible. We watched him. He's awful.
Mega Mertz.
Yeah, no, they don't have anybody. They're gonna need to go get somebody. But they've got time. We'll see. They'll maybe go out and get somebody. But right now, he's under the pressure. I like that it shifted. Let's just be honest. The pressure to win last year for Mike Norvell was immense. At some point, the weight of the lack of success gets to be overbearing. And no matter the level of competence and work ethic and effort, you cannot overcome the weight at some point if the losses pile to a point where your reputation precedes you. So you can't go into a house and convince kids that this is still going to work out. At 3 years of losing, it's too much to overcome. So Florida last year, year one, struggled. It's all right. Coaches get that year usually. There's a new car smell that comes with a new staff, so you still see a little bit of an uptick in recruiting. But if they suck again next year, and they're currently slated to suck again next year, he's going to be in that unenviable position of needing to see a radical shift in fortune on the field. And, you know, it's funny how quickly it goes from being on this sideline to a rival's sideline.
What's funny, though, and maybe not if you're talking about finding a path for Florida to be relevant and bounce back, is that after this season, you've got a 12-team playoff. So if you can find a way to be one of those at-large teams, you're saving your job. These are more opportunities.
Time and again, yeah.
The coaches love when there are more seats at the table for the postseason.
Oh, that's why in basketball they've been talking about having 90-16 tournament and everything else. Yeah. I made the tournament. Well, so does everybody, man. It's like the NHL playoffs or the NBA playoffs. You're like, man, 3/4 of the league is making the playoffs.
It's like saying,
what are we doing here?
We played in the regular season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
You have to.
Yeah. As long as relegation's not coming to America's sports, like you just can back your ass, your average ass. The Bucks just did it.
That's right.
The Bucks had a losing record and won the division. Now that says a lot more about the other sorry ass teams in that division. But hey,
be better.
Be better.
Be average.
Try to catch the back-to-back champions of the conference. Of the division.
Be average, and you would have won.
Yeah. But yeah, that's so when you hear coaches are like, well, I don't know, guys. We were there in the postseason. That's all you can ask. Give yourself a chance. Well, everybody's making that. So, yeah, when they get to 12 teams, it's not quite the same. But, yeah, you're right. Just get you to 9 or 10 wins, and you'll be in that playoff if you're in a Power 5 league and you bother to schedule decently outside the conference. Hour number 2, forthcoming. Stay with Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. This right now, and you or someone you know is active military, a veteran, police officer, firefighter, nurse, or a teacher, turn up the volume and listen to this. My friend Shannon with Legendary Home Loans has a hometown hero loan program designed to make a difference to those who make a difference. When it's time to buy a new home, he will waive all lender fees for all hometown heroes. That's a $1,600 value right out of the gate. Also, if you decide to use their preferred title company for their closing, you'll be saving another $600. That's $2,200 in discounts right off the top. That's like 20 tanks of gas in your car. And today, more than ever, it's important to save as much money as you can, wherever you can. So if you or someone you know is active military, veteran, police officer, firefighter, nurse, or a school teacher, and looking to buy a new home, choose Shannon Young, Legendary Home Loans, and ask about their Hometown Heroes program. Call 844-FSU-LOAN or just visit FSUHomeLoans.com. That's FSUHomeLoans.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 2270146.
There's nothing like relaxing in a hot tub after a long day. But if you don't have one, you're truly missing out. Hot tubs and spas have tremendous health benefits, besides just helping you relax. Like improving your sleep, they help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health, and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas has the hot tubs you need for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now, so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our huge showroom at 2473 Greer Road with over 50 hot tubs to choose from. You'll be glad you did.
The weather is unpredictable and can cause issues around your home. Weston Trawick provides commercial, residential, and industrial electrical wiring services, yearly inspections on fire alarms, portable generator sales, and so much more. With 24/7 emergency service and repair, Weston Trawick will be your calm in the storm. Give them a call at 514-0003. Weston Trawick. Professional electrical services day or night. Visit online at westontrawick.com.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Greta, Tallahassee. The latest betting odds and live movements from Vegas. This is your action update. Now here are your latest lines from our guys in the desert.
Eagles open as a 2.5-point favorite over the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 57 in Glendale, Arizona, a week from Sunday. The Eagles knocked off the 49ers 31-7 in the NFC title game. That's a 2.5-point favorite, while the Chiefs advance to their third Super Bowl in 4 years, winning by 3 as a 1.5 home favorite over the Cincinnati Bengals. NBA tonight, the Orlando Magic, a 10.5-point underdog of the Philadelphia 76ers. 76ers have won 7 straight and 9 of their last 10 games. Florida A&M, a 2.5-point home dog against Alabama State today at the Al Boston Center in Tallahassee. Sign up now for your free VSiN subscription at vsin.com/subscribe. For more sports betting news and information, go to vsin.com. Mike Sennett, Real Talk 93.3.
If you have certain chronic conditions such as heart disease,
asthma,
diabetes, and you're 19 years of age or older, 52,
36,
42, you may be at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia in just 1 dose. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
I'm going to ask my doctor
about getting vaccinated
with Prevnar 20.
This is Ken Wondergem, owner of Gem Mazda of Tallahassee, serving North Florida and South Georgia for over 20 years. And I'm happy to announce that things are finally back to normal at Gem Mazda. Our lot is loaded with brand new Mazdas for the first time in 2 years. So if you've been waiting for the price and selection of new cars to return to normal, the wait is over at Gem Mazda, where we've always provided our customers with the highest quality of service and care. You know Mazda's reputation for efficient, dependable, and affordable vehicles, but you simply must experience the luxurious new lineup of 2023 Mazdas in stock now at Gem Mazda during our New Year's sales event. Get adventurous and connect with nature in a brand new 23 Mazda CX-50 with all-wheel drive. But hurry in while the value of your trade is still high. At Gem Mazda, we take our slogan seriously. No games, no gimmicks, just a gem of a deal. Gem Mazda of Tallahassee, Capitol Circle Northwest, just up from West Tennessee Street, and always open at gemmazda.com.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Feel good. Let's go. Let's go. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. There's Director Matthew. He's on cloud 9. He's obviously feeling good. That's the second Super Bowl appearance in 5 years for your Eagles. That's correct. Yeah, I think that's right.
He's living so large he could be mistaken for Marvin Wilson.
That's not our guy's fault.
No, not at all.
That was Getty Images' fault.
Yeah, so our guy, Director Ben, behind the scenes helps us out with cool graphics and such.
Yeah, the graphic was all of the Noles that will be playing in the Super Bowl, and it's a mashup of all those guys, and one of them, it says Marvin Wilson, and it's not Marvin Wilson.
So behind the scenes, you come in here during the top of the hour switchover, and you're saying, hey, there's some chatter in the chat about that not being Marvin. What do you mean? You got to be kidding.
Yeah.
So I have to make a phone call. And then I thought, I hope Getty screwed, because we have a Getty Images subscription. I hope Getty screwed Director Ben, who isn't originally from Tallahassee.
Right.
And first and
Wouldn't
foremost,
know what
there
Marvin,
it is.
Yeah.
It's a picture. I could even tab share it probably.
Getty Images has a picture of quote-unquote Marvin Wilson looking on at practice. The problem is it's not Marvin Wilson. It's some dude that's an offensive lineman from a preseason game with the same number. So we'll be fixing the image soon enough to Marvin. By the way, congratulations to Marvin even being in the league after all this happened. Same for Joshua Kando. You don't really, hey, Janarius Robinson. But Josh Sweat, everybody knows about. Derek Nottie, everybody knows about. But maybe you wouldn't have thought about Marvin Wilson or Roderick Johnson or Janarius Robinson.
Big Rod Johnson.
Big Rod. All right. So congratulations to all the former Noles. Hell, for that matter, if you'd like, Landon Dickerson's there too. And by the way, every time you see Landon Dickerson, you're reminded of how much bigger he got just 1 year removed from Florida State's sports nutrition staff and Alabama's sports nutrition staff. It was remarkable. Another indicator that the Bama table was lacking around these parts and that things needed to change and change quickly. That was one of the all-time body transformations. He left Florida State, where he was oft injured, got to Alabama. An hour later, he was the biggest man I've ever seen.
Left the Moore Center saying, goodbye, guys.
Yeah. It
was. Next time hey, Landon, how's it going? Hello.
Yeah, he was shadow of death. Our guy, by the way, at the end of that Eagles 49ers game, Trent Williams showed again.
Oh, my goodness.
You do not meddle with that man. My favorite lineman in football.
I have yet to see that overlaid with Jim Ross, but it should be.
It's got to be.
Because there was a period of time where it wasn't just a choke slam. He would say, choke slam from hell. Because that was a choke slam from hell.
Well, here's the thing. I think this is true in general. And by the way, you notice that nobody came back at Trent. They all came back at each other. No. They just left Trent on his own.
Yeah.
He's high on the list of baddest asses in the league. The one man who spoke to him eye to eye to suggest that was going overboard, Ndamukong Suh, who I would dare say could have the conversation.
Boy.
And who has gone overboard. So he can relate to the anger and the manifestation of very personally. And he walked over and was like, come on, man. You could see him saying, come on, that was crossing the line.
And those two guys are ancient by NFL standards.
And both badasses.
When Trent went to San Francisco from Washington,
there was talk of his age.
Is he over the hill?
And
he had taken a year.
He's been great.
Been the best. The best in the game.
Yes, he's a freak. What I would suggest is because obviously we played ad nauseum the famed clip. What you gonna do? Punch you in your mouth and then pop, pop. Very, very quickly is how that happened.
You learn a lot in 5 seconds of audio.
Yeah. Well, it's also the video is so good because of the menacing nature in which he walks up on Richard Sherman, and he's got the black visor. You're like, oh, it's the minister of death walking over here to you. And Sherman sounds almost nervous. he's giggling.
What you gonna do?
Yeah, you're like,
I'm gonna punch you in your damn face.
Yep. And then it happens.
Yeah.
It's quick too.
And then the PR agent who was just looking. He was looking for the prayer circle.
Yeah, he was whoa, what are we doing here? What are we doing here?
I'm looking for Russell Wilson's prayer circle.
My point would be this. If Trent Williams has had enough of the situation, and he tells you he's had enough of the situation, there is overwhelming evidence that he is going to act upon this frustration. There isn't going to be any more conversation. It is going to be an immediate, that's your ass moment. And so when guys show you who they are, believe them. Trent is a quick to punch guy.
And he's honest, though.
Oh, I mean, I love that he's forthright. Like, the ass kicking's about to commence. Well, here we go. Here it comes. It's happening now. We're done. It's like Marvin two-time Harrison. There ain't a second.
Yeah, one time.
Yeah, there ain't gonna be a second. It is a one time, and then pat. So
I told you I'm not signing autographs.
And here comes a follow-up immediately. So I thought it was too good. And at that moment I thought, all right, well, somebody's got to be told. But he had his back to him. But you got to hear the voice. You got to know.
Marvin will knock a fan on his butt and then say, hey, you want to know what it feels like to have a Gatorade shower? There you go. Get you some of that.
Oh, man.
Still want my autograph?
Incredible. So it is set. I get people's complaints about uneven officiating and the like. What I won't tolerate and listen to on the regular is somehow we've morphed into a society of conspiracy theorists who think everything is rigged, which drives me nuts because it's not. Do guys blow calls? Yes. And this is the larger discussion, just like I've had a larger discussion regarding the NBA and fandom. So there's a couple things here that I think are interesting, and they affect our sports, and they affect the leagues that we watch and enjoy the competition. If you have high levels of incompetence, regardless of whether or not you think they intend to screw somebody or not, the incompetence in and of itself is what you should attack. Sometimes it favors your team, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it works in your favor, sometimes it doesn't. I don't think anybody's sitting around deciding, well, we need this to happen or that to happen, because there are far different outcomes that they would have chosen. Anyhow, the point would be, when incompetence reigns supreme, you have an issue, because that becomes the talking point the day after an electrifying game that ends in the waning seconds because of a penalty, which was a penalty. You just don't hit your boy out of bounds like that. It's stupid. It's a stupid decision. But that ought not be what we're talking about. It ought to be that you have the 2-1 seeds in a matchup that 2 weeks from now, if everybody's healthy, could be outstanding. Could be an incredible game. I'm looking forward to it, and I don't care about either team, but I'm really looking forward to that game. I remember for years the NBA had that problem, where you'd see a great series, and afterwards the fans would just talk about this call or that call. You had a terrible call over the weekend where LeBron didn't get the call, and I mean, by God, it's an obvious foul. It's a layup, and his arm gets hit. Do I think there was a conspiracy amongst the refs? No, I just think it's incompetence. You don't want the incompetence of ACC officials, NBA officials, NFL officials to be the talking point. And I'm not just saying by those disgruntled by the result of the game, which is normal. Fans who are on the losing end of a contest will find every meaningful slight that they can find from a video of their team getting the short end of the stick by a call. But what you don't need is A, emphasis on the wrong things, and B, incompetence in officiating. And you got to get a handle on that, because that does plague professional sports leagues. It plagues Major League Baseball. And we live in an era of video replay. We live in an era where we can instantly see how wrong you are.
Agreed. There's something that needs to come with this next evolution of replay review in the NFL that's critical. This is something that the XFL or AFL, whatever, that first one in the last 5 years did. Remember when they went to the booth and they showed that one dude who's just sitting there? He's like, okay, looking at the review. We're rewinding now. I mean, like, it was terrible television, but transparency is important.
Yeah.
The unequal application of the expedited review is going to cause problems.
Yeah.
You have no idea who's in the room. It is the silhouette from Deal or No Deal. Who's the guy up there? Because there are times when they buzz down and they make a change, and they do so perfectly, because we want expedited reviews. This is something we want. The one instance was last night for Cincinnati, in which they saved a challenge. They didn't even need to issue a challenge on a play after Kansas City had exhausted theirs. So
right.
You're thinking, wow,
yeah,
look at that benefit. But they don't have expedited review, for example, early on in the Philadelphia-San Francisco
no
game,
catch on the Smith
where
play,
there's a no catch. So who is the one that's triggering this? Should it be a centralized replay review center like there are in different leagues? And shouldn't there be a feed on television with an audio patch through, almost like it's a NASCAR broadcast, that you can hear what the official is hearing from the voice of the replay gods? That's going to have to be important. Nobody's talking about that quite as much today, but I think just moving forward, the expedited review system, which is just, trust me, we caught it. that is much different than watching a head official on the field going through the process.
What I hate, though, is there are all these moments where it instantly leads to this thought, this aggrieved fan base or frustration from a staff or whatever it might be. And then the next talking point from that group is always that there was some sort of nefarious element. But it's not. It's usually just incompetence. Just call it for what it is. It's usually just blatant incompetence that affects games in a negative light, that leads to that frustration amongst fans. And that's all fans. That's all of us that watch the NFL or watch the NBA or watch Major League Baseball. I watch games between two teams I care nothing about all the time and see countless examples of one side or the other having a tough day at the office because of incompetence. Not a nefarious element, but incompetence. And there are ways to eliminate aspects of it. Now, they're human beings, and this game is hard to officiate. I feel like, for example, the end of the Florida State game in basketball. So Cleveland's foul, which is before the shot. Okay. Do I think the ref had it in for Florida State and Matthew Cleveland? No. Do I think they had a tough day? Were they poor? Yes. Is that the norm? Yes. In any game that I watch? Yes. Basketball is a hard sport to officiate, admittedly. Both things can be true. I think there are things that you can do to eliminate aspects of that ambiguity, of the in-between places that refs find themselves in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Transparency is the way out to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, that you've got either incompetence or that you've got great communication. It can't be one or the other. Like, conspiracy theories can't live in a place where there's transparency because you see what's going on in real time. There's two things the NFL's got to clean up. That is now the second time this season I've seen a football hit a wire, which they couldn't get right in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
Clearly, the punt hit the wire that the X cam is on or whatever. That's going to have to either be a proper drone that just floats,
which we are at a place that you can do that now. Yes,
like the blimp game's getting destroyed by the drones. Where's Snoopy 1 and Snoopy 2 anymore?
They're gone.
You got drones.
Yeah,
you're going to have to do that for those particular angles to get rid of the wire. And then also with expedited review, you're just going to have to make sure that people understand what's happening. I'm all for speeding it up, but even if it's just a little box in the bottom corner, we don't have to hear from Pereira or Sterator. Let's hear from the dude who's actually making the call.
Well, it's weird because part of the solution to this is to eliminate certain elements of replay and then do a better job with the ones you keep. Expedite, refine the ones you decide are reviewable and eliminate others that are unnecessary, and just accept that sometimes they're going to get some things wrong. I know that that's hard for people to stomach, but what I don't like, and I've said time and again, if you think about, and I'll go back for those that didn't see it, it's really irrelevant about who it was and what the result was, but rather the process. At the end of the Celtics-Lakers game, LeBron drives to the basket. He's got a left-handed layup. He's clearly going to make it. I mean, he's point blank, and he gets fouled, and they miss the call. He goes to overtime. Celtics going to win the game. LeBron's furious. The only thought I had at that moment wasn't that, they wanted the Celtics to win, or that they want the Lakers to win, or that they want so-and-so to win, which is what fans frequently do, immediately think that somebody wants somebody to win. But rather, why have replay if in that moment you're not going to use it?
Yeah.
What is the point? You review everything under the sun for various degrees of fouls. You're going to sit here and show me a standard foul, a nothing foul, a non-intentional foul. Just looks like he landed awkwardly, so it looks worse than it is. And we're gonna base this on degrees of 1, 2s, or 3s, whether you're thrown out, whether it's a technical. We have all these degrees in which we judge what just a standard foul is. And all of these different things that we can review. But we can't review the last play of a game of a tie contest on an obvious foul. Not that could have gone either way, but rather just clearly define, is that a foul? That's a foul 100% of the time. We can look at it. Takes 2 seconds. That's foul, partner. We're going to award the free throws here. That's what's happening. I just don't know why they haven't cleaned up the process.
The most important thing in officiating across sports, though, is ever closer to happening. And this is number 1 on my list. Whether they actually have drones without wires on a football field.
You don't care about. You want robot umps.
And in AAA this year, I think it's AAA, the entirety of the season will have robot strike zone umpiring. Yes, sir. We are one measly year away from having it in the major leagues, and that makes this heart happy that we don't have to worry about Joe West being an a-hole, Angel Hernandez being an a-hole, Stevie Bucknor, name it.
It got so bad with Joe West, I rooted for him to collapse. Maybe not die.
Across the diamond, though. It didn't matter what base he was stationed at on a given night. He would screw it up at
it was
first
always
base, second base.
It was always look at me.
Even the Tim McClellans of the world that take 4 seconds to say strike three, guess what? The robot's going to call it before you do.
Yeah. I do. I think baseball lends itself to it to some extent more than some of the other sports. I'm willing to accept human error in the other sports more than I am in baseball in a weird way. I've come around on your way of thinking to some degree.
Most do. Progress.
I can't, when they end up showing, have you seen the David Ross one from a year ago?
Well, him getting tossed?
Yeah. So since Ross is local and when we know him, it does make me laugh because he's actually a really calm guy. He's really pretty laid back. He doesn't freak out about.
He's beloved by every fixture in the game.
Yeah. So you can find this easily on YouTube. He gets thrown out of a game because there are, I don't know, upwards of 7 or 8, 6 inches off the plate away calls on strikes. So this is a non-strike 3 call. There's a pitch on the outside, but it's like the 8th one that he's missed low and away. And the mic.
That's his strike zone, though. That's what the old timers will tell you. Well, he gives the plate away.
Yeah. So the mic on the field catches Rossi, and you hear him from the dugout drop an F-bomb. And he drops an F-bomb, and then he's like, "You've got to be better. You have got to be better." And then he gets tossed. So now he's like, "Okay, well, now we're going to have a conversation about it." So he comes out. It was during the pandemic. And so he's talking to him, trying to keep his mask so he's not spitting on him. And they're talking back and forth. And he's like, "This man is 6'6", and you're calling balls off his feet 6 inches off the plate." And they're going back and forth. It's classic. And I thought of you because you're right. Old timers would be like, "Well, that's just the zone." Like, well, that's not in the zone. That's not in the zone. I'll give you a 1/4 of an inch inside, outside, but it can't be below my knee and 6 inches outside.
Huh. If Kevin Gregg wants to call in the other batter's box, then you know what? That adds to the legend and the lore of baseball. Does it? Does it really? You know what? How about in hockey or basketball, they just say, "Good, he made the basket. It didn't go through the cylinder. It was good. I say it's good." It adds to the lore of the game.
Transparency and the integrity, you can't have questions. You got to have those things in place. I'll live with missed calls. I'll live with blown calls. I don't immediately jump to the conspiracy card the way that every fan who's aggrieved does. But you got to do better. You've got to find a way to do better.
What if the officials under the goalpost last night for Butker said, "No good.
No good.
It's no good."
And we can't review it. On to overtime.
It's my call. I said it's no good.
The Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. My man Eddie.
Jeff, what's happening, dude?
Bears eating people all over the place. I read another article today. It's the 3rd one in the last month of somebody getting mauled to death by a bear.
Man, bears have their own space.
Well,
you got to let them have that.
You do. You got to stay clear of bears, is what you're saying?
Yes.
I got a question for you. Here you go. If you had to be mauled to death, eaten alive by any animal in the world, which would you choose to eat you alive?
Ooh, I think maybe I'd want, I don't know, longevity time, a mouse.
Just a slow burn.
Slow burn.
This thing just finished the pinky. It's been a month.
I could go to work. I could still do my thing. I could probably live 30 years.
I thought you were going to say great white because it'd be quick, or a grizzly. We went with mouse.
Yeah, mouse.
Okay. Mouse it is.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Hey, everybody, the perfect fireplace makes your house a home. How's your fireplace looking? Not too well? Hearth and Patio can help you with that. Actually, Hearth and Patio can help you with anything fire. Give my friends a call at Hearth and Patio. If you need new fireplace upgrade, fireplace repair, you need custom outdoor kitchen, grills, or an amazing fireplace for your backyard. 850-727-4282. That's 850-727-4282. Or you can visit them online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com. Hearth Patio Tallahassee. They keep the home fires burning. Hey, this is Greg Tish. Here's something you might know about me. I don't drink coffee. I have never had a cup of coffee in my life. Well, that is until now. So why change now? Well, it's because my dear friend at Grassroots Coffee reached out to me after hearing me say that and insisted that I give his product a try. I've been making a huge mistake. The world of coffee is fascinating. I always thought coffee is coffee, you know? No, it's not. I have tried their coffee and it is fantastic. Now, I've got a fascination with learning more about the best coffee in our area. Grassroots Coffee is locally roasted, locally owned, and locally loved. You can find whole bean Grassroots Coffee on the local aisle at Publix, also in Whole Foods, but the best way to get this black gold is to order it online. They literally grind the fresh roasted beans to your preferred level, bag it, write the date on it by hand so you know the exact day your coffee was roasted. It doesn't get any more fresh than that. Order yours now. Just go to grassrootscoffee.com and choose the coffee you want and how you want it, and join me. Let's step up our coffee game together and also support a great local business.
When you need a plumber quick, how long is an acceptable time to have to wait?
Yeah, hey, it's the Millers again. Just calling you about our little plumbing problem.
2 hours?
Hey, we were hoping you can get here soon because the water is getting really bad. I mean, please hurry.
4 hours?
I know you said you were on your way, but, honey, tell the kids to tread water.
8 hours?
Don't worry about us.
At M&L Plumbing, you'll never have to wait long for quality, dependable service right when you need it. At M&L Plumbing, we listen to our customers, and our qualified technicians aim to achieve 100% customer satisfaction. So the next time you need plumbing work or repairs, think of the name M&L Plumbing, your local plumbing experts, commercial or residential. Give us a call, 850-575-9393, or visit us online at mandlplumbing.com. M&L Plumbing, for all of your plumbing needs.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
But we're double dipping as it is scheduled night. ACC Network. We'll be doing a show on Warchant TV. Gives me a chance to, before I welcome Ira in, if you want to flash it up there on the screen, Tom, for everybody. There it is. It is the schedule special live, 7 o'clock tonight, Warchant TV. Like, subscribe, pass along, watch it 20 times over, then put it on repeat as you go to bed. Just let it go out on loop forever. And I don't know how long that's going to go because we don't know how that show is going to play out, but we will be there to react to it. Myself, Ira, Corey, Tom. Anybody else joining the party?
Oh, we'll see. I sent the invite to everybody.
All right.
In the world.
Let's all get down with the schedule. Warchant.com joins me as he wants to do, I should say, or is wont to do on Mondays. Hello, Ira.
I want to do and I want to do.
There you go.
Both.
Are you pumped for the schedule, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that always means a lot more to, the fans because, they've got to book their travel schedules. We know we have to cover every game.
Yeah.
So it's not as big a deal sometimes to us. Obviously you want to see whether or not, Florida State gets a raw deal or if they're sent to, a stretch of 3 straight road games or something crazy. But other than that, for us, man, we know we got to be there. So it's just a matter of finding out when.
I said bravo earlier in the show. Bravo to the ACC. How about them doing something that makes sense on the ACC network for the first time, maybe forever? Well,
what is that?
Closely guarding the schedule. Like, nobody can seem to get it. I've called in every source that I have, and ordinarily I've got a heads up 2 days in advance, but they were like, nay, we are going to capitalize on this opportunity and showcase it on our network that nobody watches. Good for them.
Well, people will be watching it tonight.
That's what I mean. They did a good job of protecting the information for the first time ever. I think they're starting to figure it out, Ira.
I think, look, man, across this industry, I think people are realizing that sports teams and leagues and schools are saying, wait a minute, why are we letting other people make money off of our information? So it's not surprising they would do this. And unfortunately, not everybody has the ACC network or doesn't want to listen to 2 hours of discussion about all the other teams in the conference. And if that's the case, they can watch our show on the YouTube channel.
So I am curious. We both think Florida State is geared to have a great season next year. We've kind of talked about maybe the floor being something like 8 wins, the ceiling being an undefeated season. What do you think would prove to be the most beneficial for Florida State tonight when we see this schedule released? An early tilt with Clemson or later in the year?
I think earlier, especially because of the way, obviously the playoff is still a factor, and the fact that if you lose that game early in the year and you come back and if you win the conference, maybe you have a rematch with Clemson later in the year. And I think it's the same way. I think if I'm Clemson, I would want the same thing. So I would think that that's one that we probably can guess. There's a good chance that the ACC gets this right. You're going to think that game is probably going to be in the first month of the season because both teams are going to want to have the opportunity to get back into not just be in the conference championship game, but be back in position to where if they win the conference championship game, you can get in the playoffs. So it's in the best interest of Florida State, it's in the best interest of Clemson, and it's in the best interest of the ACC to make that happen. Now, there's challenges with that, though, and this is where scheduling becomes so difficult because there are other pieces that schools are going to want, in place because of their particular schedule. Like Florida State, for example, their first 2 weeks are already booked with, the LSU game,
the Southern Miss game. Yeah.
So you're kind of shorting the window of opportunities there. And then, you have other games that you want moved in different places as well. So that's the challenge with scheduling. They can't always make everybody happy, but I would think that game's got to be in the first, 4 or 5 weeks of the season because it's in everybody's best interest for those teams to have time to get back in position to maybe make the playoffs.
I want Florida State to have a schedule that reads LSU, Southern Miss. That's already happened. And then I want that next game to be at Pitt, buddy. Let's go. Let's go in the ACC opener at Pitt. Let's get up there in time to watch my Buccos play some baseball. You want that too, don't you?
I definitely think it's going to be those cold weather games. You're going to think Florida State, again, this is where Florida State's going to have one, and then it's up to whether or not they can make it happen. But you think that the BC and Pitt trips are games that Florida State you would think would want earlier in the year if possible. You'd rather not go there in November. But whether or not it's Pitt or BC, I think there's a lot of speculation it might be BC in that third week. But we'll know in a few hours.
If I have any influence, I want it to be Pitt. Let's go ahead and make the adjustments, everybody at the ACC home office. Let's go. I'm trying to catch Pirates game. I'm actually doing the schedule in my head now. I'm the geek that I'm catering to. I'm doing this on the fly. When do you want the Miami game? Back in October like it should be?
Probably. But I don't, that's another one where you wonder how much, flexibility,
Florida
State has it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think so. I definitely don't think you want it in November. But they may end up having to do that. Again, it's hard, man. We all want to, we look at our school and we get mad and we say, oh, you screwed us or whatever. Like last year, for example, how many teams had that bye before Clemson? Florida State had a bye before Clemson. I think Wake had a bye before Clemson. A couple other schools did as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're Clemson, you're like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
But so it wasn't like the ACC was out to screw Clemson. It's just, man, it's hard to make it all work.
I will talk with you tonight, brother. Be well.
Thanks, Jeff. See you, man.
All right, take care. That's Ira Schaffel, Warchant.com. So what the rumor is, and because we can all do this, I had this texted to me this morning, but not the whole schedule. But a lot of people seem to think that what they'll do is they'll give us BC early, like Ira just said, in that week 3 to be our ACC kickoff.
Oh, really? Because in Pittsburgh, the Pirates are hosting the Yankees. that weekend, week 3 of college football season.
Well, that would be great. I'd like to go do that. It'd be nice if they did that for us, but they're not going to do that for us. They're going to give us BC. Who's at Fenway that weekend?
One moment, please.
By the way, if it is a Friday game, and we do think Florida State will have to play a Friday game at some point, maybe more than one. I would hope not. Maybe you just concede the one at Chestnut Hill Alumni Stadium.
You're already playing on a Sunday, and you're doing that for league exposure. It's not
you are.
Yeah, come on now.
I would do I'm fine if week 3 we play Boston College at Alumni Stadium, and I'll go up there and I'll watch the Red Sox play.
Oddly enough, the Red Sox are hosting
the Pirates.
No, they're hosting the Yankees through Thursday, and so the Yankees go from Boston to Pittsburgh. And then the Red Sox are at Toronto that weekend. So you'd have to get up on Thursday, go to a game Thursday night between Red Sox and Yankees.
It's tough to get a Yankees-Red Sox ticket. Damn it, man.
Probably not this year.
I don't know, man.
They're going to be in last place.
Well, Yankee fans will travel. It's not that far a jaunt.
It's a 4-game series, though. It's getaway day.
If we were to, and it's weird. You play this exercise. Like, again, you already know you're playing LSU on September the 3rd. You know you're playing Southern Miss on September the 9th. Tonight's the night where a lot of husbands and wives and friends and family all get together and decide, let's mark it down now. How many games we go into and when are we meeting up? That's what tonight is. Tonight is get the calendar out, babe. Grab a couple of cold ones. Let's figure out the treks that we're going to make this year. I'm fine for going up to Boston. You and I have had a good time up there more than once. I'm going back. I'll go back up there. I've been up there multiple times, is what I should say. You and I went there to one time together. Never had to pee worse in my life.
Yeah, I nursed you through the 100 stops on the way up to Chestnut Hill.
Never again. I mean, nearly tears welling up in my eyes. 60-something stops trying to get out there. And that's when we saw Belichick park his car in the handicap spot and care not at all.
No. In the fire zone.
Oh, well, whatever. Yeah, it was a non-parking space.
Which, coincidentally, it's also a blitz call. Love the fire zone.
But we were like, look at that. Bill Belichick just parked right in front of us. Yeah, that was odd. I'll go back up there. Just don't give me Pittsburgh too late. Woo! Oh. Adam, thank you. I'm a Pittsburgh Seminole Pirates will have 100 losses by the time you get here. Even if they haven't played 100 games, Adam, that's true. I know, man. It's tough. I'm with you, Adam. I'm a lifelong Pirates fan, and I embrace the start of baseball and pitchers and catchers reporting very, very soon, even though I know my team has zero hope.
So Friday at Chestnut Hill. So you're telling me we would start Sunday to Saturday and then Saturday to Friday? So from our first game to our second to our third would be on short weeks for both of those? Come on, man.
If it's against BC, I don't care.
Still weak.
Let's get up to Boston. Joy, let's go to a game on Thursday. Have a good time together, buddy.
Go see the Yankees.
Oh, stop it. And no, I don't like the green line stopping at every street corner, especially not when I have to pee.
This year,
my God, that was pain.
We make that trip, I'm going to say, now, did everybody use the bathroom before because you got to go down the stairs into the heat, too. Yeah. That was the other problem.
Well,
it's 110 degrees
true
down
of
there.
Any public transportation. It always sucks.
That was particularly warm, though, because it was cold in Boston.
It was cold, yeah. But it wasn't cold down there.
No, sir.
Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
The Cairo Police Department and Georgia Bureau of Investigations are investigating after Cairo police officer died Saturday afternoon while on duty. The officer was identified as Master Patrol Officer Clarence C.J. Williams. The Grady County deputy initiated a traffic stop in the area of 10th Street and Robinson Avenue. Officer Williams came to assist. The traffic stop turned into a foot pursuit, and Officer Williams had a medical episode on the scene and passed away. 4 minors were arrested after stealing a car from a woman who gave them a ride. A woman was sitting in her car Wednesday evening in the Target parking lot when 4 minors approached her and asked for a ride. She drove them to the 1000 block of Basin Street, then asked to be taken to another location in the 1700 block of Joe Louis Street. They walked up to an apartment, and when they returned, they beat the victim and stole her vehicle. The vehicle was later spotted by deputies in Gulf County. When attempting a traffic stop, the minors drove away and eventually ran out of gas before surrendering. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at McLemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Michael Carroll with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. For this afternoon, we'll have partly to mostly cloudy skies, along with a chance for showers and storms, highs working up into the upper 70s. And for tonight, a lingering slight chance for a shower. Could have some areas of fog developing as well, dropping to 62. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently 80 degrees.
Did you know metal roofs' survivability far exceeds that of traditional shingle roofs? It's time to consider a metal roof from Metal Roofing Sales of Tallahassee. We provide the best quality, least expensive material and accessories in the area, as well as material pickup and delivery. Our painted panels qualify for the City of Tallahassee's low-interest Energy Star loan program also. And don't forget about our veteran and law enforcement discount. Give Metal Roofing Sales a call today at 536-9123, 536-9123.
My man, Eddie.
Jeff, what's happening, dude?
Bears eating people all over the place. I read another article today. It's the third one in the last month of somebody getting mauled to death by a bear.
Man, bears have their own space. You got to let them have that.
You do. You got to stay clear of bears, is what you're saying?
Yes.
I got a question for you. Here you go. If you had to be mauled to death, eaten alive by any animal in the world, which would you choose to eat you alive?
Ooh, I think maybe I'd want, I don't know, longevity time, a mouse?
Just a slow burn.
Slow burn.
This thing just finished the pinking. It's been a month.
I could go to work. I could still do my thing. I could probably live 30 years.
I thought you were going to say great white because it'd be quick, or a grizzly. We went with mouse.
Yeah, mouse.
Okay. Mouse it is.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Hey, Greg Tish here along with
Matty Rowe.
And you can listen to us Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Real Talk 93.3. Matt, we give away a couple things each week.
Just a few.
We've got the Florida Farm Bureau Insurance Wheel of Food. We have Give Me a Second, where we play a second of a song and you guess that song. And we also play FLA or Nay. We have a lot of fun Monday through Friday, 6 a.m., 9 a.m. on
The Greg Tish Show.
Think that's enough?
We can talk about our feelings.
There's a lot.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3. Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
We've got the 69mega.com making their way back to the chat.
There you go. They got the exposure they were looking for.
Hey, everybody, if you're in the chat, click on this and let's look at some boobies. That's what they're trying to convince you to do, everybody.
Oh, my God. And here I thought you were opening up with a comment on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
No, I was talking about the porn sites that hop up on the chat when you get past a certain number of people sustained viewing.
We've flown by that number, and you haven't seen him recently. Aslan takes great pride in rooting out the sources and blocking them, but then the bots,
they find ways. They adjust.
Much like life, they find a way.
They adjust accordingly. Tonight, 7 o'clock. Schedule reveal from the ACC, Warchant TV. You'll be able to watch alongside myself, Tom Lang, and, of course, Ira and Corey. Yeah.
I see it in the chat. It's getting loosey-goosey in the chat, as you might imagine, with leading off the segment that way. But did you see the trailer for Cocaine Bear yesterday?
Yeah, and I knew this was coming because I read an article about this. It is very loosely based on a true story. Very loosely based on a bear that got into cocaine.
Yeah. I had a better experience watching this trailer than anybody else because I was in the kitchen.
It was awesome.
And all I heard was the audio. It's kind of like it sounded just like a commercial in Grand Theft Auto when you're driving around a car and you got their crazy radio stations on. And you're like, oh, this is awesome. This is great satire. And I asked Jamie, I said, is this real? Did they just say that the movie's name is Cocaine Bear? She goes, yes.
Yeah.
And it's everything you thought that would be. Oh my God.
So I love when there's a willingness to embrace the absurd. I'm a bit of an absurdist myself. So if you're going to, the best way to pitch a movie like that is to take it to the hilt. No, listen, this is a bear hopped up on cocaine killing people on a renegade spree of, whatever you think would happen if a grizzly did cocaine. Huge supplies of it. So really, you want to make this movie? Oh, not only do I want to make it,
let's get Ray Liotta.
Let's go, man. Yeah, I cracked up. I did crack up thinking that that's the kind of movie I would write. Just have something insane. If we were going to have fun, if you and I were sitting around post round of golf, having a couple beers, I was like, what's the most insane thing you can think of? Let's write a movie. Let's just a simple script and get it made. What about a bear on cocaine killing everybody in a town? That's awesome. I think we're off to a good start. Here we go. That would be great. Yeah, I did see that. So I didn't know it was going to be. Is it going to be released theatrically, or is it just Netflix?
I didn't see the commercial. I just heard it, and with the sound effects and all of it, it was just incredible. It was a great experience.
Oh my goodness gracious! No, guys, I don't know that even I could have come up with cocaine. I almost said cocaine cowboy. But cocaine bear or bear cocaine or whatever. It's cocaine bear, right?
Cocaine bear, yeah.
I don't want to go back through this. We're late in the show, and we got to do Tub Talk.
Oh, that would have been perfect Tub Talk. Sorry
this is Tub Talk. Go ahead, play the line. We'll do Tub Talk. It's kind of a downer of a Tub Talk, but it's Tub Talk nonetheless. Go for it.
It's time for Tub Talk, brought to you by Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas. Buy yourself the hot tub you've always wanted at the price you've always wanted from Pinch a Penny on Greer Street. Now it's live to the tub.
So you watched beginning to end Florida State basketball against Clemson?
Second half beginning to end. First half was bouncing around doing some things. Cleaning up the house.
So when Clemson, with 10 and a half seconds left, came out of the timeout and we burned our timeout, was that not the first time you got mad? Because I'll live with bad calls and everything else in between. It happens every basketball game, so I don't get flipped out about that. But we burned our timeout with 10 and a half seconds to play, and they were coming out of a timeout. And to me, that's too soon to do it. But then, B, that, a number of things here. Go back to you have the ball in the wrong guy's hands when you have a free throw shooter the caliber of Caleb Mills.
Yeah, or Darren Green.
Right. So there are all these. We also end up with Darren Green fouling their center with 9.2 seconds left. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but if it was intentional, that's not what you do.
It's a toughie.
Well, I mean, it looked do you think it was intentional?
I think it was. Yeah.
I thought it was intentional too. Why'd they do that?
That one hurt. I think it's because he was going to get a clean look, but you let him take it.
Yes.
You let him take the shot.
They end up running staggered screens. Basically, Clemson does. Green got switched out onto him, and he's out of position. But you still don't foul. I mean, I don't.
You let him. That's an acceptable shot, even though it's straight away. It's pretty much straight away, but I think you let him cut it loose.
Yeah, and he converts both the free throws. So now you got a 1-point game with 9 seconds left and no more timeouts remaining for FSU. So the ensuing inbounds play, Cleveland passes it to the near corner to Cameron Corrin, not who you should be passing the ball to in that situation.
No, why he's near the baseline, anywhere close to the inbound is that's the hard part.
Yeah, and I love Corrin, and I feel bad for him, but he's not the. I mean, that's awful.
He's not the best option in that moment.
No, you've got one of the greatest free throw shooters in the history of the team. And so then he, of course, misses the first one, which is going to happen because you got the wrong guy the ball in the situation, and Clemson must have been, happy day. Thanks for that. I'm touching on a series of blunders at the end of this game that lead to, the Hunter kid having a full head of steam. You don't guard the inbounds pass, which is crazy, and that's
well, but then also when that second half took off and went to another level in terms of entertainment value and we're hitting shots left and right, how are they responding? Because they were attacking the basket with a full head of steam. We didn't have an answer for them. And you would think in the key moment, what are they going to, what is working for them? Beyond the fact that they're already good and they were already 9-1 entering ACC play.
Not a 10-1 that we handed it to them on a platter.
Correct. That's how they stayed in the game when we were going real productive places on the offensive side of the court, was they were able to drive and finish. So when they were low percentage, sure, but you got to think that that's what's coming in that key moment. And then, of course, you hold on to the ball too long. I mean, that felt predictable. Mills hit a lot of big shots, including a rainbow three late to reassert things when it felt like they were falling apart. So I always want to be even-handed with this. That's after he came back in with the 4 fouls. But with him having the ball late, it just felt like something bad was going to happen. I'm sorry. I get it. But that we didn't even get the shot off felt like, yeah, that didn't shock me. And is that a good sign? No, it's not a good sign. This is a rough tub to be talking about.
It's a tough talk. It's just, you get the win on the road in pretty dominating fashion against Pitt. You played really well, and you had a gut check in that moment. Pitt, who just beat Miami, by the way. And you have all of these moments where you're led to believe, okay, we're getting healthy. Baba's coming back. They may put themselves in a position to play their best basketball of the year at the end of the year. And no, I have no illusions about what's possible for this group because of the way the year started. They were not going to the tournament. We knew that, sort of one magical week. But I did think that they could end on a strong note and kind of parlay that into something positive towards the back half of the season. That, you go into next year hoping that if healthy, a couple of roster additions, you feel pretty good. And now you lose back-to-back home games in really excruciating fashion. One of them is to, obviously, a rival whom you did beat 9 straight times prior. That's duly noted. But you don't even show up for that game. I mean, you don't even show up. You're out. You're out physical. You're not mentally tough enough. You're out skilled. It's a home game, and you don't bother to show up. So that's one way to lose a game at home. It's frustrating, but it happens. Okay. And then you come out this game, and once again, just like the last 3 games, the other team gets out to a huge lead. Now you battle back in 2 of the 3, but I mean, can we not start games down 16-2? It'd be cool. Makes it awfully hard to win them. And then, this game, you do dumb things several times over.
Yeah.
With an opportunity to win.
And it ends up being a 1-possession loss. Yeah. Yeah. It just, that was a tough half because every time they pushed you, you found a way to reassert, and you're thinking this is going to be that character building win that helps set the tone for the rest of the year. Like, this is the moment where you could see it, the storyline play out. All right, there was a teachable moment where Coach Hamilton is calling out your effort. The first home game this week, you respond, you get a win over a ranked foe, and when they push you and they rally, you have answers, you close the deal. And you could see how things would take off from there. But then you lost. Yeah.
Yeah. There are a lot of factors with this team's and shortcomings of this team that they can't overcome, but you can't add to those shortcomings with things that we're highlighting here that I'm frustrated by. Ham will be back next year, I would assume. And it is my great hope that he has the kind of season that we can all be proud of, and maybe that's it. He takes it to the NCAA tournament, and we go, okay, man, what a career. Unbelievable. Hall of Fame career, and it's something to laud and celebrate. Don't want it to end this way. I don't think it's going to end this way. But I will tell you this, that it has reached a place where you get uncomfortable. And I don't mean me, specifically me. I mean the kinds of questions that get asked post-game. And those don't go away with each loss. We know that. And, well, what does that mean? Well, what that means is that they become bountiful. There are more of them with each passing performance. And then they become the noise in the system that all coaches look to avoid at all times. It's an irritant. It's a distraction. It's frustrating. It's a lot of things. And it's impossible for coaches, as we've seen, and I've seen, not to take those things personally if they've accomplished something great at the particular spot they're at, and he has. But that's just the way. That's how that works.
Yeah. In this instance versus what happened almost 15 years ago now in football, which is just amazing to think about. The success is more recent and more comprehensive in Coach Hamilton's case. This hasn't been a lost decade.
Right.
But it's a trend now. It's a trend.
Yeah, and last year was more excusable in a lot of ways, or some people might argue that it was, with the amount of injuries that they had.
I feel like this year almost is more because you're undercut before you can even get going. Because last year, the way that they finished an ACC play, the North Carolina performance is the one that always sticks out, but they have a BC performance that looks much the same. But on the road at North Carolina, that's a noon tip. No effort. And you're just thinking, come on. Because I always go back to the recent pillars of this second run in the program. And you're going to look at Terrence Mann in the face or a Trent Forrest in the face or walk by whatever awards they've won in the hallway and say that you gave your best like these guys did. You're holding that standard. Because if you do that and you're not good enough, that's one thing. But you give the same level of effort that Trent did and Terrence and all these other guys, you could say that with a straight face. I don't think you can. This year, the injuries and the suspension hurt you more. Next year, it's kind of an all-in year.
Well, I think, yes. I mean, that's a given. There's no doubt about that. He's got to make some roster adjustments, though. This team, as currently comprised, is not going to be great. They're not going to win to the extent that we want them to. So, and he's capable because every time you count him out, he comes up with he finds a guy. We thought it was going to be Baba this year, and it could have been. It could have been. But he got screwed over by the NCAA.
Could have been Gainey.
Well, and that there's no doubt. You cannot not point that out. That matters. You had a defensive stopper and rebounder who was going to be the guy to protect the rim and lost for the season before they start, and you lost Baba. Good work out of you. Good work, Director Matthew. Be well, everybody. Don't forget tonight, 7 o'clock, schedule reveal on Warchant TV. We'll be there talking all about it. Peace.